All right, Shalom. All praise going on. It goes to Yahweh Bashmi Al Shai, Basham Rakak Dash, double understudy apostle and the elders of Great Millstone and rule well, and peace and blessings to the elect. This is another GMS News and Prophecy, and I have another article here that I want to bring out. This is from SputnikNews.com. And this headline, U.S. no longer has resources to start full-scale war against Iran. Okay. Now, this, I believe, was a radio interview. And this is pretty much the transcript. But there was something, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. It was something that I just noticed out of this article that I thought was interesting in the spirit. And I'm gonna bring it out, but first I'm just read pretty much this intro into what is actually being said and by who. So this is first paragraph here. It says the world awaits President Trump's May 12th decision on whether or not to extend the Iran nuclear deal. Speaking to Radio Sputnik, Hamed Mousavi, a professor of political science at the University of Tehran, outlined what he believes are Washington's true motives in its attempt to pressure Iran into making new concessions. I'm just going to read this here. It says, Sputnik, Professor Mousavi, do you think Donald Trump's criticism, of the nuclear agreement has to do with the deal itself and its terms, or is there something bigger going on? Ahmed Mousavi says, actually, most of the elite in the United States, including people in the intelligence community, and even recently a person like Mike Pompeo, who was the head of the CIA and is now is being considered for Secretary of State, have acknowledged that the nuclear deal is in fact in the interest of the United States. Now we know and understand that the United States, being Babylon the Great, is basically the whore that rideth upon the beast, and its influence extends throughout the world. And Esau, being the head of Babylon or America, it's in his blessing to try to get these resources and, through war, and basically control the people of the earth and enslave it. Now, these things that are coming out in the news and being noticed by these other government leaders, they're bringing this information out, and they're fighting against this man, okay? They're fighting against Esau. Now, Esau, he doesn't want any other country to have nuclear capability. That's why he wages war on these countries through his proxy military armies, and he uses these false flags as well in order to be justified in using force against these people. Because like I said, through the scriptures and in the prophecies, it said that Esau's blessing would be the sword, which means the power to wage war. Okay. Now, it was something in this article towards the end that I wanted to bring out, and this is the main point, because this is basically Esau's power of the sword being a two-edged sword against himself, and is eventually going to be his downfall. Okay. Now this is at the end. It says, Sputnik, what's the end game? Is it Syria? You see, it says, I think the end goal is to shift the balance of power in the Middle East, so it becomes similar to how it was in the 1990s. After the fall of the USSR, the United States was essentially the sole and undisputed superpower in the Middle East. However, in the 2000s, beginning with the wars that they started themselves, remember, Esau his blessing is a sword, so his whole mission is to use that sword to basically control the people and take them over. But now it's going it's becoming a double-edged sword against him because he's overstretching himself. He's overextending his power. And the thing about it is, this is the same thing that happened in the ancient Roman Empire. It overextended its military resources and its strengths, and they couldn't control these other rebellions that was going on in this empire. Okay, such as a time in history where you had the Picts. It was people known as the Picts in the and what's known as the United Kingdom today. And at the edge of the Roman Empire, from that region, they were basically waging war and rebelling against the Roman Empire. And then eventually, over time, the Roman Empire, or I should say the pagan Roman Empire, fell, but it came back into power, starting with the Renaissance up until the formation of NATO in these last couple of decades. So now we're at the end of the rebirth of the Roman Empire and the end of the so-called white man's rulership, whether he called himself Romans or Americans or whatever. We're at the end of his setup now. Okay, he's getting ready to be thrust off the throne. And matter of fact, let me read this that prophecy. Let's go to Isaiah the 47th chapter. All right. And this is it. This is Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon." All right. Now this is dealing with America being placed in a position of confusion. Okay. It says, "Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." So America is not in its glory anymore. And like the article said, America wants that same superpower, sole superpower status that they had at the end of the 80s on into the 90s. But the Lord, Yahweh Basham Shai, is shifting that superpower back on him because he's doing too much. Okay. It says in verse 2, "Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen." And how is America ultimately going to be shown in shame? By the thermonuclear destruction in the War of Armageddon, man, or what's known as World War III. Once that takes place, and these other countries like Iran, like China, like Russia, once they and America's own allies like NATO and the UK and the EU, once they shoot their nuclear missiles on America, that's going to be the end of this place. Okay. Now it says, "I will take vengeance and I will meet thee, and I will not meet thee as a man." And that's Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is going to come back in a chariot. And he's going to come back as a full powered spiritual force to take Esau out of power and redeem the chosen elect of Israel and put us back in our rightful place as the kings and the priests on the earth. So verse 4 says, "As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, in his name, the Holy One is his name, the Holy One of Israel, Yahweh Basham Shai. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms." Okay. So America being the Lady of Kingdoms, all right, Babylon the Great is losing its influence. Okay. So back in the article, it says from Ahmad Mousavi, "I think the end goal is to shift the balance of power in the Middle East so it becomes similar to how it was in the 1990s. After the fall of the USSR, the United States was essentially the sole and undisputed superpower in the Middle East. However, in the 2000s, beginning with the wars that they started themselves in Iraq and in Afghanistan, the situation in the Middle East has become very tense. And at the same time, the Americans have suffered both financially and in terms of lives. They've lost a lot of soldiers here. Okay, so America's not that glorious. It doesn't have that glory anymore. All right. It says in the book of Jeremiah, it says that Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and it talks about healing Babylon, but she will not be healed. So America's it's not going to be restored back to that status, because all these other nations, they're gaining influence, okay, and they're going to ultimately destroy Babylon the Great, America. All right. It says the end result of that has been that not only has the balance of power come out of their favor, but they have actually lost a lot of their power. This has led to the rise of regional powers such as Iran and the rise of powers outside the region such as Russia. The Americans don't like that at all. Essentially, they want to be the sole power in the Middle East and to call the shots. All right. But it's just things that just must take place. America has to fall out of that grace that Yahweh Basham Shai has given it. Okay. It says Sputnik says reports say that Iran may resume its nuclear program if Donald Trump abrogates the nuclear deal. Earlier, the U.S. leader threatened Iran with big problems if Tehran decides to do that. What are we talking about here? Is there a risk of military confrontation between Tehran and Washington? And I'll say this in the spirit, yes, man. Okay. Iran is known as Persia when you read Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Okay. And Iran is going to be allied with Magog, which is Russia, and other countries, Egypt, Libya, other Middle Eastern and African countries and Eastern Asian countries, such as China and North Korea. And they're going to go to war with America. And these false Jews, those Israelis, which are really of the clan of Amalek of the nation of Edom, they're going to go to war, and these Western powers, America, is going to be destroyed by other Western powers as well, such as NATO and the EU, their own allies. Okay? So there will be a military confrontation. But I'm going to read this. It says from Hammam Mousavi, a few months ago, the debt of the U.S. for the first time in its history passed over $20 trillion. So the U.S. government is not doing well financially. Last year, it had a budget deficit of $666 billion. Hey, that number 666 is spiritual, man. You find that in Revelation, the 13th chapter. Because once this American dollar fails, which Iran has dropped from using the U.S. dollar in trade, then that's when the mark of the beast is going to be introduced, which is the RFID microchip. Okay. So it says last year it had a budget deficit of $666 billion. That is expected to rise to $1 trillion per year by 2020. And I did a video on that maybe a couple of weeks back. So this global economy, which is based off the U.S. dollar, is going to fail. And there's going to be a reason to go to war for America. And they're going to blame it on Iran and these other countries. And World War III will be waged, man. Okay? The scripture says in the book, I believe it's 2 Thessalonians, or 1 Thessalonians, excuse me, but it says, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. Okay? So it says, so essentially, the United States, from a financial perspective, does not have the resources to start a full-scale war. It says also public opinion in the United States is against any kind of invasion, such as the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Because of that, the Trump administration, regardless of its very aggressive rhetoric, is not really in a position to launch full-scale wars anymore. This is why in Syria, for example, we saw missile strikes, but nothing in the sense that they could change the military balance in Syria. I think that applies to Iran as well. They can apply sanctions, they can apply diplomatic pressure, but from a military perspective, I don't see that they can attack Iran anytime soon. Right? Now, I'm going to read this prophecy as well, okay, in the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter, because it's getting to a point to where the American military won't be able to wage war as it wants. Okay. as it wants to and win. Okay, but there will be a war and there will be a draft. Okay, now this is Joel the second chapter. Start at verse 20. It says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army." That's talking about this U.S. military here in North America, because you have something here in America known as Northcom, which is basically the North American military. I believe Canada may be a part of it. Not sure if Mexico is. I have to look it back up. But Northcom is basically the North American branch of the world global military that America has set up. Okay, so it says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, mainly the U.S. military, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate." That would be the desert-like landscape in those countries there in the Middle East. It says, "With his face toward the East Sea, which would be the Euphrates River, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea," which it also include the Persian Gulf, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, around the Mediterranean, the Red Sea. "And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things." So the ill savor of America is going to be shown, and that shame is going to be shown when these militaries go to war and destroy it, man. Okay? And defeat that military over there. All right? And ultimately, Yahweh Bashmiah Shai is going to redeem his people Israel, starting with the elect, all right, and 144,000. And we're going to be set back up in the earth as the true superpower. We're going to be the true superpower in the earth. Okay? But the power of America is definitely waning, man. Okay? America's on its last leg. All right? This Roman Empire, this fourth beast is coming to an end. Okay? So hey, it's time, it's really a time of rejoicing. All right? But with that, all right, I'm going to end it there. I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashmiah Shai, double honors to the apostles and the elders of a great millstone. Until the next news and prophecy, I hope I was edified. Our praise to Yahweh Bashmiah Shai by Hashem Rakakwadash. Until next time, Shalom.